Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, Saturday, the 4th of July, and happy Independence Day to those in the United States. Happy Independence Day, Sir Rivers. Happy Independence Day, Dr. Kinuthia. It has been a great day, and here is actually already 7 p.m. in London. So it's really good to welcome you and introduce to you our special guest. You can see he's already in the middle, ready to share his greatness. But before that, I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Patrick Businge, creator of Greatness University, and my co-host, Sir Clyde Rivers, the world's civility leader. So Sir Clyde Rivers leads on the global scale on civility. He is a godfather of civility. So he is going to introduce Dr. Kinuthia. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if there's an actual lake of water in front of your house, get ready to walk across it. Dr. Phinehas Kinuthia is one of the great voices. By the time this is over, you'll be able to walk on the water because Phinehas Kinuthia is one of the greatest voices you'll ever meet. Dr. Phinehas, good to have you on the Greatness Show today.
Man, thank you so much. It is such a privilege and an honor. And I don't know about walking on the water, but no pressure here. No pressure.
We could start with walking on water, actually. Let's start by dreaming how to walk on water. Because one of your books is called Dreaming to Become. Dreaming to become. So how can we dream to walk on the water?
Well, okay, first, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Dr. Patrick, for having us and allowing us to be able to connect. Dr. Rivers, it's a privilege and a great honor to be able to do this. I believe one of the greatest gift that has been bestowed on us is to make a difference in humanity, and to understand that the favor on us is not for us, but is for the purposes of humanity, the advancement of humanity. And so I know that there are those who are going to be watching this, there are those who are going to be listening to this afterwards or even right now. And our goal here today is to make a difference in your life. I believe that all of us have greatness. We are talking about, this is a greatness show, and we're talking about great lives. And I believe that no matter where you're born, no matter where you come from, we all have greatness inherent inside of us, waiting to be revealed. And I think one of the greatest deception is the ideology that there are those who are better than others. You could be gifted differently, but all of us have a purpose and an assignment. Dr. Rivers says this: there's 7.8 billion people and they all have value. And so I'm just so excited to be able to bring value and to walk with you today as we take this walk through this path of just greatness. So going to your question about dreaming, I believe that I think it's very important for us to dream, and sometimes our dreams look far-fetched. And if your dream looks possible, if you look at your dream and it's possible, you're not dreaming big enough. You ought to have dreams that actually scare you. So speaking of dreaming to becoming, one of the passion that I've always had, just a little bit about myself, born and raised in Kenya in Africa, born 2.86 pounds. Grew up with chronic bronchitis, low self-esteem, and really just dealt with a lot of issues growing up. We live off of less than $2 a day. And during that time, I didn't think much of myself. I didn't think that there was anything of value that I could offer to anybody until I listened to a message called Purpose by Design by a gentleman called Dr. Miles Monroe. And that ignited a passion for me to start the journey to pursue my purpose and to pursue my assignment in life. And that's where I started dreaming about where I want to go, who I want to be. And I think you are not old until regret takes the place of your dreams. We got to get to the point where we continue to dream and we start dreaming. So I'm just so excited that we're going to be doing this. And just as we introduce this, just to let you know that, about dreams, everyone has a dream. And it's our responsibility to make those dreams come alive. If God gave you a dream, it's because He's given you potential to realize it.
Well, that is very, very powerful. Yes, Larry Vance.
Yeah. And then Phineas, you see, people have taught leadership as someone that manages people.
Mm-hmm.
A real leader is someone that establishes something different and
Right,
everyone calls them as the expert.
right,
That's what leadership is.
right.
And in this area of
Mm-hmm.
dream actualization, you were the 2020 World Disability Icon of the Year for
Right,
this.
right.
So as you own that stage, how do you see dream actualization helping our world today with what state the world's in?
You see, a lot of people have, and that's a good question, Dr. Rivers. A lot of people have dreams, but they don't know how to connect the dots between where they are to where they ought to be. And leadership, and that's what leadership is. Leadership for me is influence. Leadership is taking people from where they are to where they ought to be, but they don't know how to get there. And so a true leader is supposed to walk people through this path that leads them to the destiny that they're supposed to attain. And so one of the things that with dream actualization, which is something that I'm very passionate about, there are a lot of people who live and die with their dreams, but never really fully materialize their dreams. There are steps that are necessary that you have to take, and even the exact step that people have taken to actualize their dreams. And my goal is to tell people it's not enough to dream. You got to take steps to move towards the advancement of your dream. You got to move towards the actualization of your dream. There's a hierarchy Maslow of needs, and at the basic of this Maslow's law of basic needs is the basic needs is humanity needs for survival and safety. But at the top of this, the Maslow's the hierarchy of need is self-actualization. Is the idea that you reach to this place where you're not only fulfilled in life, but you reached your maximum and greatest potential. And so my passion is to tell people it's not enough to dream, but we want to walk through the awareness level and move from just wanting to have things, desiring to have things, to moving to that place. What are the steps we must take so that we can actualize the dream? So it's not enough to dream. The dream has to become your reality. So that's why when I wrote my first book, From Dreaming to Becoming, that was a concept. How do we move from just dreaming? A lot of people are dreaming, but they've not become. I think it's Bruce Springsteen that say that there comes a time when a man has to stop wishing for the person he ought to be, and he starts being the person that he was meant to be. And that's the thing. We got to get to a point where we stop wishing and hoping, because that's not a strategy. We got to get to a point and ask ourselves, what do we need to do? What are the steps we must take to make our dreams a reality?
That is
That's
powerful.
real good.
Yes, because a lot
Yeah.
of people do the dreaming, but they don't actualize their dreams. So something has to happen. There's
Right.
something we should be able to push them into their dream, into actualizing their dream. Because reading your biography, for example, you said you come from Kenya and you
Yes.
lived through a situation of poverty and lack.
Yes.
And but you managed to make a move from that setting to a new setting where you've been able to create complete a different life.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that message you want to tell our viewers tonight about how they can, for example, someone is struggling, they don't see any way, they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
What needs to happen for them to be able to step into their greatness? What needs to happen for them to be able to step into the actualization of their
Yeah. Okay, well, first of all, I think we have to work with our mindset, because Albert Einstein said that the problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking they were created. And so a lot of people want to make a difference, but they want to continue to think the way they've always thought. You know, a negative mindset cannot produce a positive lifestyle. Until our mindset changes, our reality cannot change. The outcome of your life, the manifestation of what you're enjoying today, is a reflection of your thought patterns. And so, the first thing we have to do before we can go any farther is deal with the perception, is deal with mentality. See, your perception becomes your reality. There are a lot of people that are thinking negatively, but they're hoping and wishing that something will be different. One of the things that I'm so excited that working with Dr. Rivers, and as we've been working across the world, one of the things that he continued to do is to inspire people to start thinking differently, is to inspire people to start seeing. And that was one of the things that he challenged me with. And when I first met Dr. Rivers, is that understanding of, okay, how do you verbal engineer? What are you saying? But what you're saying cannot change until your thought pattern changes. So this is one of the ways that I can tell. It doesn't matter where you are. A lot of people are afraid because they feel like, I don't have connections, I don't know a rich uncle, I don't have resources. So they get stuck in this paradigm that tells them that they don't have whatever it takes. I want to annihilate that thought pattern right now. And number one thing I want to say is, we all have potential for greatness. We all have everything we need that is already in us in potential form. I say this because inherent in each of us is greatness, and it's just wrapped up in ordinariness, waiting to be discovered. A lot of people just undermine, minimize, diminish their capacity because they compare themselves with other people. But you're so unique to compare yourself with other people. You're so unique to be defined by a single moment of failure or a single situation. And so we define ourselves. We look, and especially in the social media world, where people are comparing themselves with other people's highlights, and you have people that are thinking that they're nobodies, but they have potential for greatness. So one of the things that I will say is that you cannot have a positive lifestyle with a negative mindset. So if we want to actualize our dreams, number one, we have to change our perception. Your perception is your reality. I tell people that the distance between where you are to where you ought to be will be determined by how fast you're willing to change your mindset. I grew up in Africa. I grew up in poverty. I grew up with less than $2 a day. So I understand not having enough. I understand I came to America with $200 in a one-way ticket. I didn't know anybody. So I understand the plight of being homeless. I understand the value of not having anything. But what I did not do is to allow my circumstances to define me. One of the things that we have to do is not allow what we've been through to reflect as our identity. What you've been through shapes who you become, but it's not who you are. I won't say that again. What you've been through it does a lot to shape who you become, but it's not a definition of who you are. You are born for greatness. You have greatness inside of you, but for this greatness to be revealed, you have to go through so many other things that actually unwraps this greatness and births this capacity that is in you. You know, just like a diamond is a coal that has been through a lot of pressure, through a lot of exerted a lot of things, and we look at it and we're like, and the more the diamond has been through, the more it shines, the more capacity, the more value it has in form of clarity. You know, when you go to buy diamonds, they talk about clarity, but the clarity is obtained by the extraction of impurities. And so if we go through life has a way to extract things that are not necessary for where we're trying to go. And that's the process of life. Life in itself is not a destination, but it's a process of being that comes from this place where we're being developed and matured into this person. So the number one thing I want to tell everyone that's listening today, if you want to actualize your dream, we got to start with your mindset. There are two types of mindset. One is called the growth mindset, and another one, the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset says, this is where I am. This is how life is meant to be for me. I don't know what to do. There's nothing I can do about this. So I have to accept my life as it is. And it relegates us to a low level of living and a low level of thinking. But our growth mindset says, this is where I find myself, but what can I do to get where I need to go? A growth mindset is able to log into a show like this and is able to say, what can I extract? What can I take? You see, the problem is with so much information, people are not understanding the value of wisdom. See, information is not wisdom. Information, you can Google anything. You can ask Siri right now. You can ask Alexa for information. But wisdom is seasoned with experience. And that's why we still need people in our lives that have been through some things that we can learn from, that can mentor our lives, that can coach us and help us become a better version of ourselves. So I think that's where it starts. I want to say that it starts with the mindset, and it starts with this ability that I don't know everything I need to know. I will be the first to tell you, I didn't get myself where I'm at. I have people like Dr. Rivers that speak into my life. I have people that I've chosen, whose influence I've chosen to listen to. Here's the thing. Everybody doesn't have capacity to speak into your life. Everybody doesn't have ability to develop the gifts that is in you. You have to identify the voice that is relevant to you, because the voice you listen to determines whose influence you've permitted. So if we choose the wrong voice, then we determine their influence in our lives, and that is a reflection of the outcome of our life. So we can look at where your life is, and we can say who you're listening to or who you're submitted to, because it's a reflection of those people that are speaking and pouring into your life. So number one, if you want to actualize your dream, we got to start with a change in mentality.
Wow. Wow.
Powerful. Yes.
And Phineas, this is Dr. Phineas, one of the problems I see of why the world isn't progressing. It's progressing, but the issue is this: institutional thinking
Right,
creates a permanent mindset
right,
that they validated this, and that means this is good.
right,
I see, Phineas, I see people locked up in institutional thinking, and
right.
when God moves beyond that thinking, they have a short circuit.
Right.
What are your thoughts on the powerlessness of institutional thinking?
You know, Dr. Rivers, that's one thing that has impacted humanity, is because we want everybody to think the same and to think uniformity. And I always say that conformity is the killer of creative capacity. A lot of times people are being brought to this place of conformity. You know, you don't need to color outside the box, outside the lines, color within the line. And that institutional thinking is the reason why we are where we are. The masses of men lead lives of quiet desperation because they are trying to fit in and trying to be. But I know that we were not born to blend in. We were born to stand out. When you think about dominance, when you think about dominion, when we were given dominion, one of the things that dominion does, it gives you capacity to rule your environment,
Yeah.
not to be subdued, but to rule your environment. And for you to rule your environment, one of the things that God did with us is that he gave us the creative ability. That's why we are just like him. He says that I've said you're gods and sons of the Most High. He gave us the creative capacity. Why? Because for us to have dominance over our sphere, we have to have a creative capacity. So the same thing, for the enemy to have control over our lives, he has to kill the creative capacity that is in us so that we can think the same. Now, remember when they were building the Tower of Babel, and they came together in the beginning in Genesis, and there's one thing that God says, let us go down and look at what these people are doing. And he said one thing, he said, behold, the people are one, and nothing they've imagined to do will be withheld from them. Now, watch this, is that so God said that their potential was limited to their imaginative capacity. He said nothing they've imagined to do will be withheld from them. So my imagination is so powerful that God gave us this creative capacity to have imagination, that through imagination we can manifest things into existence. Now think about it. Everything is created twice. It's created first in the mind, and then it's created in the natural. That's why you have a prototype. That's why they always start with the prototype, because it first has to be taken from thought to concept and made an actual prototype. Then now from there you can mass produce. But watch this: the thing that creates mass production is not the same thing that creates the original. The original comes from a concept, from imagination. So the enemy wants to keep people from thinking by using institutional thinking so that we can just reproduce. So we are taught, that's why the assembly line was created. We are taught to just do, put this there and don't question it. Put this there and don't question it. But the people who are working the mass production are not the people who are creating the concept. The people creating the concept don't have the same limitations because they are allowed to dream. They are allowed to think. That's the wisdom that Walt Disney had. He used the capacity to imagine and to create. And so if we're going to be great, we have to have this capacity to think. We have to have capacity to imagine. And so that's the thing that institutional thinking is doing. In my latest book, Becoming the Best You, I talk about thinking differently. And in that book, we talk about non-conformity thinking. The people who are on the forefront today that are making waves within, whether it's the exponential organizations, they're not thinking within the confines of institutional thinking.
Right.
When you think of Uber, when you think of Airbnb, when you think of any DoorDash, they're not thinking within these confines. When you think of Tesla, they're not being molded by institutional thinking. And I think that's why we are told in Romans 12 that do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed. Now, conformity is thinking like, acting like, believing like. So we're told, but be it transformed. So the only way to be transformed is to get ourselves out of that kind of thinking. And so institutional thinking, Dr. Rivers, is one of those things that is limiting greatness and trying to kill our creative capacity.
Wow, that is powerful, and there are lots of
I
nuggets
told you,
there to think
Dr.
about.
Patrick. I told you this man had greatness. Come on.
Indeed, this is greatness in practice. He is a creator of greatness, of becoming the best you.
Yes.
Here you have about 9 secrets to becoming the best of you. So what are the secrets? How can our viewers tap into some of these secrets to become the best of them?
I think we can cover all of them. If that, I would say that if they want to get a copy of the book, and it's this book right here, it's called Becoming the Best You, 9 Secrets for Stepping into.
Yes. We seem to have lost
his voice.
His voice is going to come back. We lost the voice at the time when we need it most. But in the meantime, please share this message with anyone who you think it might help. And importantly, we are talking with Dr. Kinuthia live from Houston in Texas, and he's talking about becoming the best of you. He's helping us walk into our greatness step by step, helping us change our mindset from the fixed mindset, the mindset that tells us, I cannot do it, to a mindset which is a growth mindset, to a flexible mindset, which is, I will try, I will do my best, and be able to become the best of you. And the important message is already given us is that each one of us has a potential within us. We all have the potential to be great. Yes, sorry.
Yes. And see, what is so powerful about this is everything in the world is created outside of the institution. Then when it gets so big that they have to form it to the institution. So this is why at our UGCSI, our United Graduate College and Seminary, and also you at Greatness University, we're looking for what's the original idea from God? What's the original thought? Because nothing that is created is ever validated first.
Yes.
It's created in the Greatness University. That was a thought that now exists. It was a thought of a new education paradigm It was a new thinking, and it came through you. And people, if I can encourage the audience, stop looking for validation for everything and just get God's validation. When God validates your or whatever you do, he will cause it to live and the institutions will follow. Because Dr. Patrick, government doesn't create, it governs. People create and government governs what the people create.
Exactly. And that's what we're thinking actually when we talk about greatness. Yes, there is greatness, but greatness creates greatness. So there's a greater who creates. There's a greater with the greatness that lives in us. So if we create, we say greatness equals God, then you can see how the different implications. God is within you. You're created in God's image. You
Yes.
can't be lesser than what God wants it to be,
Mm.
because God is within you. So it's really becoming the best of you entails the ability to listen to the greatness within you, which is God, so that you can step into your greatness and manifest it as planned or designed by your creator. Yes. So
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Because what happens is, if you look at the scripture side of greatness, it says faith is the evidence. Wait, faith is the substance of things not seen, but it's evidence. So somebody
yes.
has to hold the evidence in their mind first. First, they hold the evidence. Wait. The water just the pond just came back on.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Can you hear me?
Yes,
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 they
we can.
do.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're about to go into some actual steps out of your book.
Yes. And we were going to talk about, the question was, how do we, what are the secrets and how do we move to the secrets? And of course, I was saying that one of the things is we can't cover everything, but one of the values that I want to address is this concept of attitude. I think attitude is one of the greatest things that has helped me as far as pursuing my assignment and trying to be all that I've meant to be. Now, one thing I realized is that we have to get to this point where we change our attitude about the circumstances that we are in. One of the secrets to stepping into greatness is to be able to have gratitude, to see into how far you've come and where you are, and be thankful, first of all, for where you are. I think we live in a generation that is so entitled, and we feel like, people owe us anything, and people owe us this, and the government owes us this, and the government owes us that. And with that kind of attitude, we cannot be able to succeed. We have to have the attitude that everything we have is a gift. And everything we have, every day we are able to make a difference in somebody's life. It's a gift. It's an attitude that, okay, so there's a story about this guy that this old man that sleeps. And when he sleeps, the grandkids decide to play a prank on him. And so they put a Limburger cheese on his mustache, right? And so he slept, and when he woke up, he started having this smell, and it stinks. Limburger cheese really stinks. And so he goes into, he's like, something is smelling. And he decides, okay, maybe it's this room. He gets out of the room, goes into the next room, and he says, man, something stinks. And then he's like, okay, maybe I need to get outside and catch some fresh air. And because the cheese was in his mustache, he goes outside, and the same thing, the smell is still there. And he gets so frustrated, he lifts his hand and he said, this whole world stinks. Okay. Now, the issue was not the circumstances outside. The issue was him. And so one of the things that I want to say is sometimes it's not what's happening outside, it's how we respond to what's happening in us, okay? Because if we start with the right attitude, if we start with the right mindset, we can start moving towards greatness. So greatness is not a destination. Greatness is basically where we are moving from mediocrity, from complacency to a level of ordinary, to moving to this place. And so greatness actually evolves. Most people don't understand that greatness is not a place. So you don't get there and you say, I've arrived, because by the time you get there, there's another level that you need to go. And that's why most people don't know they're great until they die, because of the fact that we celebrate these people because we are able to see how much they've gathered, because in the process, it looks so ordinary. And so greatness is birthed in the mundane. I want to say this because a lot of people despise the mundane because they have an attitude that I'm entitled. I need to, this is who I am. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know where I need, and this is what I need to do with myself. We have to have this attitude of humility, this attitude of knowing that we all have value, that God has created each of us with value as human beings. And once we begin to understand that, we begin to value everyone. I cannot honor you, I cannot value you if I don't see value in myself. We are told that we are to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. So we begin with loving ourselves. And one of the things that Dr. Rivers has been talking about and teaching a lot in this season that we are in is the whole concept of the golden rule and the golden question. And so asking ourselves, would I be happy with somebody treating me the way the way I'm treating them? And so that understanding coming to, and that's that civility that we've talked about. But civility starts with an attitude of humility, an attitude of, you know what, you are equally as valuable as I am. And once I see people with that attitude, then I can begin to say, okay, how can I add value? How can you add value in my life? But when we feel that we are above people, when we feel that we are better than, when we feel like, they are less than, then we cannot learn from people. I believe that everyone that comes into your life has potential to teach you something. And it's up to you to be open enough to receive whether it's a child can teach you something. A grown-up can teach, an elderly person can teach you something, but it starts with an attitude. So our attitudes determine our altitude. We cannot, somebody said that an attitude is like a flat tire. You can't go anywhere until you fix it. If you have the wrong attitude about life, if you have the wrong attitude about life, there's no way you're going to get, the thing about life is what we give out. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if we start thinking from a negative standpoint, then we begin to attract the negativity in our lives. But when we start thinking from a different paradigm, then we begin to attract the different things that are needed to us, the positive things. So your outlook is contaminated by the toxicity of your inner thoughts. So if you don't fix your inner thoughts, if you don't fix that, then your attitude begins to be a reflection of what your inner thoughts are. So that's why as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we got to change first our thinking and change and allow our thinking to change our attitude so that our performance can change. A lot of people are trying to do instead of being. And in order to be, you have to fix the attitude. So one of the secrets that I will talk about is a habitual attitude adjustment. You can have a bad day, but don't let the bad day define you. You can go through you can lose stuff, you can lose business, but don't let that define you. I remember when I went through a season where I lost my house. I went through so much and I lost my house. And I remember thinking, man, I worked so hard for 7 years. I worked so hard to have this, and now I don't have it anymore. And, there's a feeling that comes. There's a defeat mentality that would have quickly taken over my life. But I did not allow that to define me. I thought things can always be replaced. You cannot be attached to things because things are always replaceable. What matters is who you're becoming. If you're growing, if you're becoming a better version of yourself, then something significant is happening within you. And so even if your things are being lost on the outside, you're still becoming more. So I actually became more through the loss and the disappointments in my life than when I had the stuff. So for those who are going through stuff and think that because you're going through pain, you're going through disappointment, you've been followed and a lot is happening and all this COVID and everything that's going, don't build your life by what is happening on the outside. Start on the inside. Then on the outside, you'll begin to draw and attract that which you want to see in your life.
That is very powerful, because the thing is that most people get paid by what they do. But the people who make it most in life and earn higher, they get paid by what they think.
Yeah.
So it's not about the doing, it's about the thinking. The money is in the thinking. So think about someone who came Microsoft, that is Bill Gates, coming up with the idea of a home computer. That's an idea, what he thought. Yes. And then you can see how much he's earning. Or Steve Jobs with his idea of a phone or an iPhone now. So it's the idea is being paid for, not where most of the money is. Think about Facebook. We are currently using Facebook to broadcast it. It's still coming up with an idea. And actually, up to now, Facebook is free. No one pays it. But the person who created it is among the top, maybe top 10 richest people in the world. There you go. Because of the idea.
Yes.
Not because of what he's doing physically. So there's that kind of, in your book, actually, you're talking about the mind shift, that we have to shift our mind. But do we as well have to shift the people we hang around with, the people that we follow, because you as well talk about follower shift?
Yes. So, you can grow your life geometrically through experience and mistakes, or you can grow it exponentially through relationships and associations. A lot of people want to go through life by experience, but that's the most expensive way to learn through life. I mean, I know we'll agree, Dr. Rivers, you'll agree. I've been through enough to know that a wise person learns from the mistakes of others. And so what is happening is that, especially, I'm seeing a lot of people getting into this mindset where they build a circle of influence that panders to their way of thinking. A circle of influence that pacifies their mediocrity. But if you're going to be great, you have to build around you a network of people that challenges your way of thinking. And it has to be in multiple disciplines. It cannot be in one arena. So let's say I'm an educator. I can't just have friends who are educators. I have to have innovators. I have to have people in the finance. I have to have people in, there has to be a wide array of people that you surround yourself with. Why? Because you can only grow as fast as the circle of influence that you have in your life. Yeah. Because what's happening, the circle of in your influence is supposed to challenge and embellish you. And that's why if you are the smartest in the room, you are in the wrong room. I want to be in the room where those that are speaking intimidate me. They challenge me to want to be, and that's the thing, being with Dr. Rivers, sometimes, it brings, you can see the dumb in you. He will bring wisdom and he brings out some things in you and you're like, wow, I should think at a higher level than that, because of just how good, just how God has given him the capacity to innovate and to see things at a higher level. And so we need people in our lives that call us to greatness. I remember the first time I met with Dr. Rivers, one of the things he said was it takes greatness to recognize another greatness. And it takes someone that is in a higher level to call you into that level. And that's the thing. You need to be surrounded by people that challenge your way of thinking, that challenge your paradigm, and not people who actually are excited by where you are, but people who are challenging you for where you need to be. I think we have cheerleaders. We have more cheerleaders in our lives than we have actually people who will challenge us to the next dimension. And so that's why I really thank God also for the people he's put in my life, like my mentor, Dr. Rivers, because of the fact that he is able to see and call me to that place where I'm able to think at another level outside of where I'm at. But that's what we need. We need relationships. I think the kingdom of God thrives through relationship. Have you ever asked yourself that why they put people in solitary confinement? Is because as human beings, we were created to exist within the context of relationship. And so this is why it's very important to have relationships as one of the key. It's called associations, those who associate with. Because if you associate with eagles, it's only a matter of time before you soar with the eagles. But if you associate with chickens, it's only a matter of time before you peck with the chicken. So you have to determine those you want to associate with if you want the outcome of your life to change.
Man, that's powerful. And I think Dr. Phinehas, relevance is important. I see, and just giving you some examples. Sometimes I see people looking for greatness that is not from them. Greatness uh, of what somebody else or the institution says is greatness. And I'm watching. The question I have is: natural education has a shelf life.
Yes.
I went to college in the 80s. The information that I got in the 80s is no longer relevant. The vehicle we used a typewriter that had whiteout.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell them my age. One of my friends got the actual first Mac computer that came out. One of my friends got it, and we went to his house, and we were like, "Wow!" It was a computer.
It was a dinosaur, a big monster,
My
right?
man, it was a big one. You had to have cooling fans and everything. But watch this here. The fact that I got my degree has made me think my whole life I'm better than certain people because I have a degree. But the information, they had more actual relevant information to life
Yeah.
than I had with my degree.
Yes.
Can you speak to that issue?
And that's the one of the failures of the educational system today, that by the time you graduate and you get your degree, that information is obsolete. And that's why one of the things we have to do is move back to innovation, where we can actually get back to this place where we do skills-based education, we do capacity-based education, where we are not training people to do, like I went to school and got all these degrees. Before I discovered my purpose, I tried so many things, and that's one of the things that we talk about, discovering your core. And so I went to school, and I have Dr. Rivers, I have almost 192 hours of college, right? And in those hours, I can tell you that much of what I learned was not applicable. It's good theory, it's good information, but it's not applicable. But information that is not accessible or applicable when you need it is not relevant. And so we are being trained and then being given a piece of paper to put on the wall to say that you've attained this. But that's not where the true process happens. The true process happens in life, in the day-to-day life. And so one of the things is that if we're going to begin to move towards that place where we attain greatness, we have to understand that when we look at things like people like in the Bible, we look at David. David was trained on the back end, taking care of the mundane task. And that's where his greatness came from. So by the time his giant is announced, by the time Goliath shows up, he had been equipped. And so one of the things is that we cannot despise what we've been through and what we're going through, our life experiences. Our life experiences become our schoolmaster. And if we learn from the lessons, you're never a failure until you fail to learn from your lessons. And so you can go through failure. If you're not making at least 5 mistakes a day, you're not growing. And so make mistakes. I tell people this ideology of perfectionism where we are trained to be perfect. You got to learn to start making mistakes, because as you make mistakes, you begin to learn. But if possible, the best way to learn is from other people's mistakes. So one of the things that I can speak to into as far as that is concerned, Dr. Rivers, I think it's time that we move from that place where we, in order to be relevant, we have to move from that place, because right now everyone has access to most people have access to the internet. I don't want to say everyone, but most people have access. They can Google, they can search whatever they need. But what we need is to, in order to be relevant, is to find the core of who we are supposed to be and build our life around that, and then go find the need. Because when our core finds the need, we find our purpose. And so that's the thing we want to find, because in order to be relevant, we have to be doing what we were born to do. Because there are a lot of people who are fulfilling things that are other people's assignment. But in order to be relevant, we got to find our niche. We got to find our area of assignment and really give ourselves to it and push our lives through it. And that's one of the things that I'm encouraging. And that's why we need to move from this ideology of, hey, go to school to get a paper so you can have a degree. And let's move people. The degrees are good. Don't get me wrong. I want you to have them. But more than anything, have this knowledge, have this expertise that come from the skills, from the training, from the innovation, and from the things that we are learning.
Thank you very much. That exactly the message that we needed to hear before we end this show. We needed to hear a message because sometimes, like, if you want to, or someone asks for help, and they know that the help you're going to give them is related to life, they will pay you less.
Yes.
Or when they hear about the university and the piece of paper that comes at the end of the process, they are ready to pay £20,000.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So when it comes to a simple personal development goal, then they're not happy. Someone asked me, for example, in one of my books, he said, how much? I said, £35. That's about $40. So that's too expensive. But how much is it going to cost you if you don't get that knowledge that's in that book?
Yeah.
But they are ready to pay maybe £20,000 per year for
an education they can use.
Where they're going to use exactly the same book, or more or less.
and your book, a lot of people, you're right, and a lot of people don't see that the experience it took you. You know, a book, the worth of the book is not the cost of it. The worth of the book is way much more, because the years of the experience, the things you've gone through to actually articulate those thoughts. What you're really charging is to put it together on paper. It's not the value, because the ultimate value can make them so much more. And I always ask people, whenever they speak to cost, I tell them, what is the value of the ignorance of not knowing it? Because the ignorance, you see, it will cost you maybe $30 to buy a book. But the value, the cost of ignorance, the opportunity cost of not knowing it, is going to cost you so much more. So I would rather grow through wisdom than learn through experience.
Actually, someone said, if you think knowledge is expensive, then
try
ignorance. Because one mistake could cost you your life. One mistake could cost you your life.
Yes.
One mistake could cost you thousands of dollars or pounds. One mistake could cost you a relationship
Yeah.
or a
Yes.
contact that was going to help you take you to the next level in your life.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, in terms of human and lifelong learning and life experience, I think we have to, and that's why we do our greatness, helping people realize that yes, my experience is valid as your experience. We all participate in the knowledge. We don't have it all. I'm talking about greatness. You're talking about greatness. Some people
Mhm.
say, "Oh no, Patrick and Phinehas can't work together because they say they're all more or less having the same product." That's not the point. The point is that knowledge is complementary. There's complementarity in the knowledge
Yeah.
that we all participate in the big thing we call knowledge. We all participate in a big thing that we call the truth. And if at all we arrive at the truth, then we have to work together.
Right. And what makes us unique, if I can say this, what makes us unique is not how different our message is,
Mhm.
but it's the uniqueness of your journey that actually packages what you're saying to your audience differently. You've been a totally different path than I've been in through life, but we're all coming. There's a convergence of information that's bringing us to this place of understanding what we are talking about. So I will be remiss if I don't learn from your experiences that has brought you to where you are, so you can speak onto this issue. So I think the uniqueness. Sometimes we think, oh, it has to be special just to me and nobody else. No, every one of us can say have the same message. Just like you have singers, you have thousands and hundreds and thousands of singers around the world, but they could be only one Whitney Houston. They could only be one, and that's because of the uniqueness that that person brings to that gift, to that skill. So it's the uniqueness. And that's why I appreciate what Dr. Rivers does, is because he wants to bring out the uniqueness in each and every one of us, and he allows us to stay within our lanes to do what we are called to do and still be great at what we are called to do. And that's the power of an effective leader, is a person who wants to bring out the best in you. So I agree with you. The uniqueness there comes from the fact that you've had your path, you've had your journey, you've had your lessons. They could be the same principles, because principles are eternal. You know, principles don't change. They're not respect of persons.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Professor Phineas. It's been a great pleasure having you on Greatness TV and your great life. We enjoyed this. And our viewers would like to stay in touch. How can they find you? Where can they find you?
So they can find me online. I'm on Facebook. My page is facebook.com/Phinehas K page. That's Phinehas K, Phinehas K /page. So that's Phinehas K page. I'm also on Instagram at Phinehas K. That's PHINEHASK.com. NEHASK.com. You can also find me, you can check my books and my resources online, and it's PHINEHASK.com. Yeah, and you can find me online. And I would like to connect with you, and I would like to know how I can be of help to, and how I can make a difference.
Thank you so much, and it's been a great pleasure having you. And we've learned a lot, we've grown a lot, and this time, 1 hour, almost 1 hour, has transformed our lives. My life has been changed, definitely, by all the knowledge. I'll have to replay this so that I can
Oh,
listen
wow.
to a
Thank you.
lot of golden nuggets here, nuggets
Yeah,
of greatness, things to help us fast track our greatness, and
thank you.
importantly, live our best life, become the best of us. Yes, Dr. Sir Rivers, could you offer us a closing
Yeah.
message?
This is why we have created United Graduate College and Seminary International. We have created a searcher versus a researcher and a life education. And
Wow.
because education lasts a lot longer than my K through 12, than my bachelor's, master's, and doctorates. We are life learners every day. And
Yes,
both
sir.
of you, Greatness University, Professor Businge and Professor Kinuthia, I believe we have some of the greatest instruments to make this world what it's supposed to be with people like you. I'm humbled. Thank you so much. And I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Robert Ornelas, who's on, and our Chancellor, Dr. Michael Pitzel, and Dr. Sonia Robinson of Conversations That Matter. Chris Perry, thank you guys. Guys, let's change the world. It's us that have a new mind of God that can create the paradigms to come. Stop looking for the old, look for the new thinking.
Thank you so much. And thanks so much to all our viewers from all parts of the world. Almost every continent has been represented tonight. Thank you so much for having this time to be with us on Greatness TV. It's been Dr. Patrick Businge with Sir Clyde Rivers hosting the legendary Creator of Greatness, Dr. Phinehas Kinuthia.
Phineas Kinuthia, the guy walks on water.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Amazing.
Appreciate it.